So let's talk about what are some of the ideas I have to share with you around setting goals. I have 5 business goal ideas and thought starters for you. So the first is follow your passion and play to your strengths. If money were no object, what would you be doing? It can be hard to imagine sometimes because like we all have commitments, we all have bills to pay. Sometimes money is an object, and that's fine. It really is. But if it weren't an object, if it weren't a consideration, what would you be doing? What do you enjoy about your work? What do you look forward to when you come to work in the morning? You guys hear me talk about this all the time. What excites you? What gets you up before the alarm? What are you proud of what you do? And if not, what could be tweaked? Like these are important things to ask yourself because we spend most of our waking hours working. Most of us do. And look, you owe it to yourself to do what you love, to love what you do. I love what I do. I want you to love what you do. And it is something that I talk about all the time. So when you're playing to your strengths, everything becomes so much easier and it allows you to bring your best stuff and it's what you deserve. So follow your passion and play to your strengths. The second spark, if you will, for setting your business goals is to measure your own career progress based on your own goals. Don't measure it based on what other people should tell you. A lot of times, especially people that work in corporations, those of us, and when I did have a corporate career, the company I worked with had a wonderful process for setting benchmarks and setting career goals and really supporting you in making those things happen. But a lot of times you are following somebody else's goal, somebody else's idea of what you should be doing. And what that leads to is you're always comparing yourself against their goal, against what somebody else is achieving, not necessarily what you want. So, following that, comparing yourselves to others sometimes can lead you to some non productive behaviors and self limiting beliefs. You may feel that you are less than if you haven't achieved something on the same schedule that someone else did or someone thinks that you should. The only metric you really need is whether you're progressing against your own goals and getting closer to what you want to be doing. So that's why it's so important to set them, because that's what you want to be measuring yourself against. Okay, spark number 3 for setting your business goals. Invest time and maybe even money in your own career and your own development. People who take charge of their careers and achieve their career goals understand it's our own responsibility to invest in that. So that's definitely your time, and it might even be money. I have another client who was feeling a little uninspired at work, a little unchallenged. And what she did was she looked into what courses there were, online courses, but through good, reputable organizations, universities. What courses were there that would spark her interest, help her learn something that would grow in the future? And she had to pay herself, I think it was a couple $1,000s. Not ideal. It's great when somebody else pays for it, but it was worth it for her to invest that time and money in that because it just really brought her new ideas, new energy, new contacts. So be willing to make that investment in your own career development if it's something that can benefit you. I even have clients that have engaged me as their coach. They're, investing in their own development that way. Their companies may have been willing to pay for coaching, and they actually chose to pay for it themselves so that their company wasn't at all involved. They didn't have to align objectives. They didn't have to feel guilty if their objective potentially was moving away from that company. So, that's even a possibility. But the time is probably even more important than the money in terms of investment, because time is the one resource we can't renew. Money you can usually get more of, time goes away. So, but you are important. This commitment to yourself is important. So you have to be willing to take control of your own career development and invest in it where needed. And it really will bring back energy for you. And even in the rare cases where you didn't feel like it brought you what you needed, you will learn a lot about how to do things differently, and maybe that what you thought you needed isn't actually the answer. Okay, number 4, for Spark for setting your business goals, don't forget to take care of yourself. It doesn't really matter how good you are at your work or what you want to achieve. If you aren't feeling good, if you don't have the energy you need, if you aren't healthy, it's worth nothing. Take it from me. That was my experience last year. Was my health had a very dramatic way of making itself a priority. So learn from that. Make yourself, your own health, your own well-being, a priority here, and set goals around that too. And that's not just a personal goal. That is a business goal, because you can't achieve anything if something else gets in the way like that. The 5th spark for setting your business goals is to not just take care of yourself. That was number 4, but take care of your network. You hear me talking about the importance of your network all the time. It is an asset that no one can take away from you. Some of us have been in situations where we had to make a major career change that was not of our choosing, but your network is something that nobody can take away. And it's tremendously helpful both in sparking ideas and knowing what's out there. It's kind of like doing market research, but it also can be a real lifeline for you if the unexpected happens, or even if you're in the driver's seat and you think maybe it might be the right thing for a change. Your network is there for you. And, speaking for myself, when I chose to leave the corporate world and move off to building my own business 5-6 years ago, my network was everything. And, I'm really proud of the business that I've built. And it is due in large part to my network, either my direct network or people that they are in contact with. Sometimes I post something and somebody will reach out to me based on a comment that somebody in my network makes. So I can't say enough about the value of a network, and it's worth taking care of. And not only can it benefit you, but you never know when you might be able to help somebody else. And that just plain feels good. I have clients sometimes that I'll talk to, and they'll feel like, oh, I want to reach out to this or that person, but I haven't talked to them in 5 years. And often my question for them is, well, what's the story you're telling yourself in your head about that? And a lot of times the story is, oh, I haven't touched base with them, and now I need something, and they're going to think, that I'm using them or think less of me or whatever. That's possible, but I think it's really unlikely. Most of the time when somebody reaches out and you haven't talked to them in a long time, their response is that they're really glad to hear from you and they're really glad that you're doing well. Chances are you were very important to them another point in a life or a career. And what's the worst thing that can happen? You reach out to somebody and they don't want to hear from you. Okay, chances are you can live through it. And you move on to the next person in your network. So you hear me talk about this all the time. I'm a huge believer in taking a very strategic approach to how you build your network and how you keep up with your network. And if you want to talk specifically about my ideas for an approach on that, feel free to be in touch. There are specific things you should be doing, or not should. There are specific things you could be doing around that to make it really productive and really easy.